That's a really good question, but it shouldn't be just the referendum. It should be what age should people allowed to be allowed to be before they vote in anything. So you've got the SNP and Alex Salmond who are turning around and saying, you know, promoting the possibility of 16 to 17-year-olds being able to vote in the referendum, but not 16 to 17-year-olds being able to vote in this year's council elections, or not 16 to 17-year-olds that were able to vote in the election that they won in 2011, when they'd been in power since 2007. So it's really, really mixed messages, and I think what needs to be clear is that there should be one level of age for voting in all elections. That's what we have just now, 18.
Yeah.
Now you can argue whether 18 is right, but it shouldn't be move it down to 16 for a referendum and put it back to 18 for the next set of elections.
Exactly,
you know, it doesn't make sense at all. So it's got to be stable all the way through. And my comment is, you know, there are 50-year-olds who shouldn't be allowed to vote. To be truthful, you know, they really are. You know, they get there by age, and there are 16-year-olds who really are much more well informed than some 40 and 50-year-olds, and their vote would be, you know, cast with a lot more thought and consideration. But we have this by age. But we also have a lot of different age thresholds. You know, you can get married when you're 16, you can join the army when you're 16, but you can't drive till you're 17, you can't go to the pub till you're 18. So there's a real mixture of when somebody becomes an adult in the United Kingdom. So jumping back to the voting thing, there are certainly 16 to 17-year-olds who are well enough informed to be able to vote, but what I want to see is a stability through the voting age. But you also have to then ask the question, why does Alex Salmond just want to move it for one event? You know, move it for everything. If that, you know, and put the argument forward for moving it for everything, that's a totally different argument than just trying to manipulate it for one event.
Do you think non-Scottish people living in Scotland should get to vote?
Well, I hope so, because technically I might qualify to be non-Scottish. My dad was Scottish, so you know, I suppose by the international standards I can claim to be Scottish, although I was born in England. So, but I think anybody who's living in Scotland, you know, by a cut-off date, should be allowed to vote.
Well, it's always been our policy that people who are age 16 and over should be allowed to vote, not just in the referendum, but in all elections. We don't have power to do that for all elections. For example, for Westminster elections and for the Scottish Parliament elections, it's not up to the Scottish Parliament how old people are. But where we've had the power, we've done it. So there's elections to the Crofting Commission, which we've just had for the very first time ever, and we allowed 16-year-olds to vote in that. And we've also had pilot health board elections.